farewell to Brazilian football, a final goodbye to the greatest player the world has ever seen, at the end of a glittering career that encompassed more than 1,000 goals and more than 100 appearances for Brazil. Between 1958 and 1970, Pelé graced 4 World Cups, and it was in Sweden in the 1958 World Cup finals that he unveiled his unique talents. Pelé, with Zito and Garrincha, took his first bow on a world stage against Russia, brought into the team at the insistence of more experienced players in the squad, and it took only minutes for Garrincha to show off his remarkable ball control and dribbling skills.
Saltou de cabeça com o Gonzalo, depois para Didi, Didi para a bola no terreno, pode lançar para Garrincha na direita, o Zagallo na esquerda, demora demais, prepara para frente o Gonzalo, tenta o drible, foi para Vavá, entrou na área. Vavá, no início irresistível de partida no Brasil.
Brazil had already beaten Austria 3-0 and had drawn no score with England, and now they needed to beat Russia to reach the quarter-finals of the World Cup. For the shy 17-year-old Pelé, this occasion, back in 1958, proved to be too unnerving. That afternoon, Didi, Vavá and Garrincha were the heroes as Brazil won by 2-0. Now on the brink of retiring from football in Brazil, Pelé's superb artistry stands unsurpassed. And to the end, he still retains his passion for playing.
Apesar de já ter feito mais de 1000 gols,
Pelé admits that even after scoring more than 1,000 goals, it's always a thrill to score one more. And football is nothing without goals. They represent the sense of fulfillment that any sport must have. Pelé, the greatest goal scorer of all, has thoughts on the art of scoring that deserve attention. His theory is that the best route to goal is the most direct, straight through the centre of defences, as Pelé himself illustrates.
teoricamente, a maneira mais fácil de chegar ao gol é indo direto pelo meio. Diretamente é bem mais fácil do que você ir em zigue-zague.
In the days at Santos of Pagão and Coutinho, or Pagão and Pelé, the essence of their play was the quick interchange of passes.
Jogava com Pelé, no tempo Pagão e Coutinho, Pagão e Pelé. Para você chegar ali na meia-lua, o jogador tem que ter uma habilidade tremenda. O jogador tem que ter um raciocínio rápido. As jogadas ali têm que ser feitas rápido, porque...
But to penetrate deep into the opposing penalty area, the player must have good skills. Quickness and thought of movement are essential because a game can be decided in a matter of seconds. The slightest error by a defender can cost a goal, especially to an attacker with Pelé's instincts for an opening.
E se jogava alguns anos atrás. Então está difícil você jogar pelo meio.
But Pelé believes that the football of the 70s was a different game. Packed defences meant that attacks had to come from wide positions, from the wings.
O gol que, para mim, foi muito importante Gol que me deu confiança, inclusive talvez até tenha sido.
Back in 1958 in Sweden, Pelé's career hinged, he believes, on one goal. A goal that breathed confidence into the timid 17-year-old. It came against Wales and was the only goal of the game. Wales had never reached the World Cup finals before, and they were surprise quarter-finalists. Even the dribbling skills of Garrincha failed to unsettle a side that was magnificently served by the Arsenal goalkeeper Jack Kelsey. The game seemed certain to finish as a goalless draw until Pelé made his mark. Not a classic goal, one Pelé remembers as his most important, coming right at the outset of his international career. He had been injured when the Brazilian squad left home, but with that goal, the confidence returned. For the first time, Pelé felt part of the team. Pelé was to make a dramatic impact on the semi-final against France in Stockholm, after Garrincha and Zito had set up a goal for Vava as early as the second minute. But France's splendid attack had carried them into the semi-finals on a tide of goals, and they equalised through Just Fontaine. It was the first goal Brazil had conceded in the competition. And it was Pelé who purposefully brought the ball back for the kickoff. Brazil seemed apprehensive at allowing France their equaliser, but from that shock the players grew in stature, producing a breathtaking performance. No one could stop Didi, Pelé, Vava, Zagallo, Zito and Garrincha.
Olha que viaja alto, vai para Vavá, livre, pode entrar na área, prepara-se agora, driblou por dentro, foi derrubado, driblou pela esquerda, vai chutar, deu na brecha para Zagallo, finaliza em esquerda, gol!
Zagallo's shot here was adjudged not to have crossed the line, but for France it was only a temporary reprieve.
A bola entrou, bateu na trave, entrou para o gol, o bandeirinha não deu, agora roubado o time brasileiro pelo bandeirinha laterais.
By half-time, Brazil led 2-1. The second goal had come from Didi, who dummied a defender before scoring from outside the penalty area. The second half belonged to Pelé, whose 3 goals thoroughly justified his claim on Brazil's number 10 shirt.
Tentou drible. A bola em escapa de controle, cai com o Dito na cobertura. Dito foge a bola pelo setor esquerdo. Infiltra-se bem. Vai pra linha da área. Abre o tiro. Fuzila. Bate nas costas de Brasil. Cai na esquerda com a Vavá. Vai tentando cruzar pra toca do gol. Para pra gol de Pelé. 3-1 para a equipe do Brasil. Pelé marca o terceiro gol. Põe a bola no terreno. Bola fora na ponta, entregado para a Garrincha. Garrincha passa agora pelo ponteiro. Movimenta-se dentro da área, deu a Pelé. Ajeita a cara, ponta a Vavá, virou, chutou, caiu, botou para Pelé.
France now were helpless in the face of a team full of world-class players and one precocious talent on the way to becoming the greatest of them all.
Virou, fuzila.
Pronto, já! Pelé was a natural all-round athlete, but it was football which gave him the greatest scope to exhibit his talent. Pelé's skill sometimes made you overlook his supreme fitness and perfect coordination, qualities that only came from hours of dedicated training. At 29 years old, he reached peak condition for the 1970 World Cup in Mexico. Pelé began his career with a generation of players who put an end to a tradition that Brazil always lost the vital final match. Yet for a moment, on the 29th of June 1958, when Brazil met Sweden in the World Cup final, it seemed that their jinx would strike again. In only the 4th minute of the game, Sweden pieced together a neat and penetrating move. Niels Lidholm added the finishing touch, and Brazil trailed 1-0. This time it was Didi who carried the ball back for the kickoff. Later he would tell that his only thought was to bring Garrincha into the game. It was a ploy that was soon to threaten Sweden and would eventually lead to the equaliser. That goal soon arrived, after Didi and Vavá had won Brazil this corner. The corner was taken by Zagallo. On from Didi to Vavá, now Zito. And Garrincha's cross presents Vavá with the most straightforward of opportunities.
a bola sobrou para Babá.
Now at 1-1, Pelé himself came desperately close to breaking the deadlock. But when Brazil did go in front 13 minutes before half-time, it was with a carbon copy of their first goal. Garrincha getting behind the Swedish defenders to set up another simple chance for Vavá. But in the 54th minute, Pelé took over the stage with a goal of quite remarkable quality. A moment of such supreme skill and confidence that it immediately ensured his reputation throughout the world.
Podemos assim dizer, de Pelé foi tudo pelo alto, tudo pelo alto.
Now Brazil were irresistible and Garrincha in his most teasing mood. Midway through the second half, Mario Zagallo's tenacity brought him Brazil's fourth goal. Then Garrincha went sprinting clear and thought he'd won a penalty. But the free kick was given to Sweden. As Brazil lost their concentration, Sweden punished them. Another move of precise interpassing ended with Simonsson, just onside, cutting the score back to 4-2. Even this early in his career, Pelé was singled out for the type of violent defending that would pursue him wherever he played. On this occasion, Brazil's marvellous repertoire at free kicks just failed to exact a telling retribution for the foul. But in the very last minute of the final, Pelé's acrobatic header sealed Brazil's magnificent victory by 5 goals to 2. And at the age of 17, Pelé had become a world champion. Grown men have cried on winning the World Cup, and for the young Pelé, the tears at the final whistle came in floods.
Custou, mas o nosso dia chegou. Custou, mas o nosso dia. Titi, Pelé, papá, bailaram lá na Europa e a Copa vem pra cá. No tour, Titi, Pelé, papá, bailaram lá na Europa e a Copa vem pra cá. E o mar de sorte beleza, famoso trio final.
The smiles had long since returned when Pelé went back in triumph to his home in Bauru, where he first kicked a ball in competition for the youth team of the Bauru Athletic Club. Like all youngsters in Brazil, Pelé had only one ambition, to play professional football. But no one, before or since, would play quite like Pelé.
Mas não é tão fácil assim como se parece.
Pelé never forgets his good fortune that when he was playing for the Bauru youth team, he came under the wing of an elderly coach, Valdemar de Brito, who passed on his grasp of football tactics and skills to the eager pupil. Today, it's Pelé who is the coach, here teaching youngsters at Santos how to improve their kicking with their weaker foot, a frequent problem in young Brazilians. Pelé preaches the coaching gospel of learning the basics of football, of learning how to kick the ball correctly, of learning how to control the ball.
A maneira de parar a bola, como você vai dominar a bola, isso é muito importante no futebol.
Pelé's own play shows us a perfect example of how to run with the ball. Watch how he keeps his body between the ball and the defender. If the opponent is on Pelé's left, he carries the ball on his right, and vice versa. That way, he's well prepared to withstand any challenge. Pelé's father, Dondinho, was himself a fine player whose promising career had been ruined by a knee injury. But Pelé rose quickly to the top. He left the Bauru for Santos, who remained his only professional club in Brazil. Inside a year, he was selected for Brazil in the 1957 Copa Roca against Argentina, and then for the World Cup in Sweden. Pelé recalls that his family were worried about him becoming a professional footballer because of the sad experience of his father's injury. Though his mother didn't want another footballer in the family, Dondinho quietly passed on the tricks of his former trade. He taught Pelé to use both feet, and most important of all, he taught Pelé how to head the ball. Heading is surely the weakest of the Brazilian skills. Many players, even good ones, close their eyes in fear as they go to head the ball, instead, as Pelé shows, of keeping them open to see where the ball is coming from and where he is trying to direct it to.
Está com o olho aberto para ver aonde ele quer mandar a bola, para ver como é que ele vai cabecear para o gol.
Pelé also points out the skill of controlling the ball on the chest, of thrusting the chest out as though it's inflated when the ball arrives, of releasing the air on the point of contact, and of hollowing the chest to cushion the impact. Like a magnet, Pelé's fame drew crowds wherever he travelled.
58,5.
His lifestyle had all the hectic quality of a celebrity, recognised on and off the field.
75.
Pelé quickly accepted his responsibility to his fans, and throughout his career never shied from personal contact with them.
Pode descer, Pelé. Dá 1,71,5.
His friendliness only made him even more popular.
Vamos tomar aí o perímetro da coxa, mas aí. A fita passa pela prega glútea inferior aqui. $60. Colosso, hein?
Pelé quickly became a superb ambassador for the game. Kings, queens and statesmen came from all over the world to watch the king of football. Every time Pelé played, in thousands of matches for club and country, he was the focal point. He rarely disappointed those who came to watch the best player in the world. Pelé's number 10 shirt became a symbol for goal scoring, the most magical of all his qualities. Pelé's catalogue of brilliant goals brought a flamboyant touch to the winning of matches and championships.
Va bene?
Adagio, fermo, stia fermo. Fermo, dai. Sta fermo. Venire a Santos e non vedere.
By the time of the World Cup of 1962 in Chile, Pelé's reputation was such that Brazil were overwhelming favourites to retain the trophy. Garrincha would again play alongside Pelé, and against Mexico in their first match, they showed all the style of their performances in Sweden. But Brazil didn't take the lead until the second half, when Pelé's pass set up the opening goal for Zagallo. Pelé himself added the second goal, which made the game safe for Brazil. But in the second group match against Czechoslovakia, tragedy struck. Pelé had sparkled in the early minutes of the game, but then he strained a thigh muscle, so severely that it was to keep him out of the rest of the championships. Without their star forward, Brazil conceded their first goal of the tournament to Spain. Thankfully for Brazil, Garrincha stood firm. Two goals from Amarildo, Pelé's deputy, finally put paid to Spain 2-1. And from then on, even without Pelé, Brazil found a scoring touch that made them world champions again. Garrincha with a header. Bavard with a header. Garrincha with a viciously swerving shot. All goals against England. Garrincha again. And yet again with a header. Bavard with his power in the air. And Bavard once more. The cup that would have been Pelé's now belonged to Garrincha. And in the midst of the celebrations, one player wore the expression of a loser. Pelé had been on the outside looking in. After the bitter disappointment of Chile, Pelé gradually rebuilt his career, inspiring Santos to become champions of Sao Paulo, Brazilian national champions, and then, against Benfica of Lisbon, winners of the 1962 World Club Championship. the Santos team had turned into a goal machine, and Benfica, champions of Europe, were savaged by a devastating attack led by Pelé and Coutinho. Pepe, Doval, and Coutinho, all great players who dovetailed beautifully with Pelé. Santos became the club champions of the world, and the final whistle gave birth to a new tradition, the fight amongst opposing players to swap their shirt for Pelé's famous number 10. By now, Pelé had become a marked man. Before every game he played, coaches plotted how to control his influence. Against Santos, they fell into the trap of concentrating too much on the number 10. The rest of the Santos players were well equipped to profit from the extra space they were allowed. Pelé presented an insoluble problem to every team he faced. One marker was never sufficient to contain him. If 2 or 3 were delegated to stop him, then his teammates were left with a clearer route to goal. Pelé created as many goals as he scored and recognized the part the creator played in winning matches. Often, a simple short pass was enough to send a supporting player in to score. Like Jairzinho here against Italy in the 1970 World Cup final. Like Tostão against Peru. Pelé's coaching sessions always emphasized the skill of shooting, beginning with the placing of the foot directly in line with the ball, with the knee and the front of the foot also pointing down that line. The contact with the ball is made with the inside of the foot, with the instep, or with the outside of the foot. The inside of the foot is the best area to use for accurate passes over short distances, and with a little more power can also bring spectacular results. For longer range, the instep with a strong swing of the leg adds strength for shooting.
Bem no meio da bola, para que ela saia com bastante força.
The swerving shot, nicknamed the banana shot, has become a trademark of Brazilian football. Pelé demonstrates this exciting technique using the outside of the foot, striking the ball just off-centre and making it spin through the air. At free kicks, the banana shot can be deadly, as the Brazilians have shown at the highest levels. It was with this swerving free kick from Garrincha that Brazil opened the 1966 World Cup in England. And with Pelé also scoring from a free kick, Brazil beat Bulgaria 2-0. Pelé was determined to erase the disappointment of his injury in Chile. But in 1966, football was in a cynical age, and Pelé became a victim of it. Amid the celebrations of spectacular goals, where was the world's greatest goalscorer? Pelé was beaten by his own worst enemy, the calculated thuggery of the opposition. Pelé and Brazil were kicked out of the 1966 World Cup. Over the years, violent tackles on Pelé won numerous penalties, and he always added an artistic touch to the taking of the kick. Pelé's method of taking penalties favoured the inside of the foot. Here he passes on his technique of making up his mind where to place the ball and firmly dispatching the ball into the corner. But those savage fouls didn't always bring the reward of a penalty. Pelé also showed that he was only human when he sought his own reprisals for rough treatment. The fear of a crippling injury, like a broken leg, at times called for self-protection. But for the most part, Pelé's even temper showed a quite remarkable tolerance. Ironically, it was with a penalty that Pelé reached the milestone in 1969 of 1,000 goals in senior football.
Pênalti sobre Pelé. E o Fidelis está fazendo buraco na marca do pênalti para que Pelé perca. Vem na cara do torcida no estádio. E a torcida no estádio em coro pede Pelé, Pelé, Pelé.
A hush of expectancy hung over the Maracanã Stadium in Rio. Pelé a few seconds away from the goal that was hailed in Brazil as the goal of the century.
Atenção, caminha Pelé, chutou, gol! Gol de Pelé! Pelé, 1000 gols! Pelé, o mundo aos seus pés! Andrada é o arqueiro do rei! Pelé, milésimo gol! Pelé, o deus do estádio! Pelé, o gol do século!
At his very moment of triumph, Pelé faced 100 microphones and realized the breadth of his audience. He called for protection of the poor, of children in need, and of the elderly.
proteger das crianças. As crianças necessitaram, as casas de caridade. Vamos pensar nisso. Vamos pensar só em fé. Pelo amor de Deus, olha o Natal das crianças. Olha o Natal das crianças.
Cima do milésimo gol. O gol do século. Paralisado o jogo. E parece que acaso virgem na história do futebol moderno. Pelo menos nos últimos anos. Quando o jogo é paralisado, ele é carregado no ombro dos fotógrafos, dos locutores, dos cinegrafistas. Pelé é o Deus do estádio. Pelé 1000 gols. Pelé.
Pelé's proud scoring record takes no account of the other magnificently created chances that were lost against a mixture of brilliant defending and bad luck. In fact, some of the most remembered of Pelé's performances concern incidents in which he failed to score. For example, the breathtaking body swerve and dummy in the 1970 World Cup against Uruguay and their goalkeeper, Mazurkovic. Unforgettable, too, was the shot from the halfway line against Czechoslovakia, also in Mexico in 1970, that had their goalkeeper Victor racing back in blind panic. Then there was the fearsome header that produced the save of the competition from England's Gordon Banks when Pelé had already shouted goal. Another incident that is strong in the memory of the 1970 World Cup. In 1970, Pelé was in perfect condition. An athlete who could jump over 6 feet and who could run the 100 meters in 11 seconds. At 29, he was in his prime for his 4th appearance in the World Cup finals. In Mexico, Pelé completed 12 years as a regular in the Brazilian team. And so often comparisons are made between Brazil's winning sides of 1958 and 1970. If they played each other at their peaks, which side would win? It's a question that presupposes two Pelés matched against each other. Pelé's belief is that the 1958 team was better prepared and man for man had the better players. But tactically, Pelé feels that the 1970 side was superior. If there was an imaginary contest between the two sets of World Cup winners, Pelé's vote goes for the 1958 team to win. What a contest it would be between two sides who both captivated and triumphed over the world. Before the 1970 finals, pessimistic opinion predicted a dour competition. But in Mexico, Brazil produced a sunshine touch and a succession of thrilling goals. The simplicity of Pelé's game has never been better illustrated than in his short pass, perfectly timed and delivered, that set up Carlos Alberto for the fourth goal in Brazil's 4-1 victory over Italy in the 1970 World Cup final. Brazil are champions of the world for the third time. Now they take away the Jules Rimet trophy for all time. Pelé is the only player to share in all three triumphs. As the loudspeakers shout the names of the Brazilian players, there are new heroes amongst them. But for one, the Mexico Fiesta symbolizes the end of a magnificent era. This is Pelé's farewell international. After 110 appearances in which he has achieved the remarkable average of almost a goal a game, he chooses to leave international football while still at the very top. Pelé's name echoes around the stadium. The king of football is departing, and other great players will ascend to his throne. But will we ever see another Pelé?